Hey lovelies and hey Swifties, welcome back to another Sims 4 speed build. So I decided to build Taylor Swift's holiday house in Rhode Island. I wanted to recreate this house for the longest time. I think the history of this house is super interesting. I also love Taylor Swift, and then recently I have received a Instagram DM and someone was asking me if I could build something Taylor Swift related, and I thought, hey, I wanted to build the holiday house, so I'm just going to give it a try. So I did exactly that. You can here see how I'm working on the house in Brindleton Bay, and this is my second attempt because I was running into a couple of problems. I'm not the best at replicas. I have a hard time nailing the proportions sometimes. I usually just like to do what I want to do, so I just create something from my imagination, or I have a bit of inspiration, but then I just built the house as I go. But here this time around I really wanted to nail the proportions of the build, and I wanted this to look like the proper holiday house in Watch Hill, Rhode Island. So I built this on a 64 by 64 lot because I simply needed all the space, and to be honest, this lot is not even big enough to really recreate a holiday house, because on the right side there's like a huge lawn and also a pool, but I was just running out of space and I just could not include the pool, so I'm sorry about that, but I included the complete house and also the seawall, which is kind of iconic because when you take a look at the house when you are at the beach and you can like look up to the house, you will see the gigantic seawall. So it's essentially a pile of rocks. I think it's supposed to protect the house from erosion because of the ocean. But yeah, let's talk about the house first and what's going on here and why it's so iconic. So in case you are not a Swiftie and you are just appreciating this build for what it is, a incredible piece of real life architecture, I just want to give you the backstory so you are kind of in the loop and you know what's going on here. So this house was bought by Taylor Swift in 2013. It's in Rhode Island and it's just absolutely stunning. And yeah, I was reading so much about this house. I went down a rabbit hole and I found out so many interesting things, also a couple of funny things, and I'm just going to talk about everything here. So yeah, Taylor bought this house in 2013, as I said, and she paid over 17 million for this. She paid cash. She just decided to buy it and did that, and she was, I think, 23 years old at the time, and it's supposed to be a vacation home. She has spent the summer in this house. Also, her parents apparently sometimes use the house just to relax. It's just a nice vacation home essentially. And in 2016, Taylor held a notorious July 4th party at this house and at the beach. She posted lots of pictures from the party and everyone having fun at the beach on Instagram, and I feel like this is kind of when the media picked up the story about this house and the location, and the public kind of found out about this house more, and there were so many celebrities at the party, lots of models, so everyone was kind of, okay, this is so cool, these people hanging out, and the house is just stunning, and the beach is wonderful, which is like a private beach and part of the property. And yeah, I feel like this is like the first time when most people who are not Swifties, like the Swifties who know everything about Taylor, but like the public found out more about this house at this point. But yeah, let's talk about the backstory of the house first. It was built in 1929 for the Snowden family, and originally the size was 11,000 square feet. It's located in the Watch Hill section of Westerly, Rhode Island, and it was bought in 1948 by the Harkness family. In 1947, William Hale Harkness married Rebecca, and William and Rebecca Harkness bought the house 1 year after their marriage. But sadly, in 1954, William died, so Rebecca was a widow, and Rebecca was kind of known for her outrageous antics, and she was living in the house alone. I think she married a couple of times, actually, like after that, but at the time she was living in the house alone as a widow, and she was known for all kinds of different things. So she was filling up her pool with Dom Perignon. She was having issues with some of the neighbors, and she was like basically kidnapping the pet, and she dyed it green and then let it go. So the pet was like green, and this caused a lot of trouble. She also had a relationship with Salvador Dali, and she was kind of known for throwing parties, and people were kind of annoyed by her. So she wasn't having like the best reputation in the neighborhood at the time, so to speak. And yeah, that's who Rebecca was and what Rebecca was known for. And well, now we are jumping to 2020 when Taylor Swift released her song, The Last American Dynasty. And in this song, she is singing about Rebecca and about Rebecca owning the house. And then in the song, there's kind of a plot twist, because at some point, Taylor sings, 50 years is a long time. Holiday house sat quietly on that beach. 3 of women with madness, their men and bad habits, and then it was bought by me. So this is kind of the plot twist of the song. At the end of the song, we find out that the house Taylor sings about is the holiday house that she has owned since 2013. So basically she bought the house, she did a lot of research about the past of the house, and she even reached out to the family of Rebecca to ask for permission to write the song and to kind of bring this to the public, and they agreed. And this is kind of the plot twist. And the essence is that there are a lot of similarities between Taylor and Rebecca. For example, how the press was perceiving both women in the past. People were judging them, and people were like not allowing them to live the life that they want to lead, always criticizing them, always picking every single detail apart, not liking that they were like kind of not behaving the way they wanted them to behave, and like judging them. And I think this is like super cool that Taylor like found the similarity, but that she's also talking about the history of the house. And after the song came out, media picked up the house and the history. Like when you are googling holiday house, there are like so many news stories about the house. The house has its own Wikipedia article, and there's like, you will find so many things about this house. When she bought the house, people weren't like really happy that she lived there and moved there. I think this is also why she kind of saw a similarity between Rebecca and her, because the neighbors weren't really fond of Rebecca, and now people were kind of not liking the fact that she bought the house. The whole neighborhood is kind of old money, and these people want to live a really quiet life, or when they are there for vacation, they just want to have like a really quiet summer. And suddenly Taylor Swift arrives and all the fans arrive. But some people were like generally just against her buying the house, and then people like were complaining, and news outlets were picking up the story. For example, there's a seawall, which I've also included in the build. So there are lots of rocks which protect the house from erosion, and the seawall was built, I think, decades ago. It was part of the property, but then over time no one really took care of the seawalls, so lots of rocks were missing and also kind of gone due to erosion. So it was just time to really restore the seawall, and this is exactly what Taylor did. Like she bought the property and restored the seawall, and this was kind of the right thing to do to protect the property. But a lot of people weren't happy, because then there were like so many rocks at the beach, as they said. Like apparently the rocks were kind of blocking off a path that people used to use to like get to the beach. Also, the beach is part of the property. She bought the house and the beach, but apparently before she bought the house, people were kind of allowed to use the beach because no one cared. But I mean, people were like trying to break into her property, so she just kind of had to protect the beach and the property, so there's security. No one is allowed to use the beach, and which is kind of understandable, because when you acquire a property like this and you have a private beach, I think it's totally okay to just fence it off and decide to only use it like for yourself. Because Taylor probably just uses this house to just get away from everything and to like have time for herself. So I totally understand that. But people were like totally against her. She also built a new fence around the property, and people were criticizing this, but then someone said that actually like a fence has been there since the 50s. She just restored it, so she's kind of keeping up the property, and I feel like it has historic value. I think it's really good that she's keeping up that property and that she's taking good care of it. But you already see that people were kind of not happy. They even wanted to introduce a new tax, the Taylor Swift tax. So if you would buy a property there for over 1 million, you would have to pay a hefty tax. And yeah, people just all around weren't happy. I then found a Daily Mail article which was kind of talking about the whole seawall situation, and there was a old man who was he's living like not even in Watch Hill, he's like living in a different town but close to the area, and he was kind of completely complaining about the seawall. I think he was also mentioning a neighbor who also isn't happy, and then there was a comment below the article, and he was like, yeah, I think he's talking about me. I'm the neighbor, I'm living directly next to the house, I'm living next to Taylor Swift, and she's nothing but sweet and no problems at all, I'm not complaining. And it was like so surreal, like seeing all these comments and these people like arguing. But yeah, he was happy having Taylor as a neighbor, and I think it's just really interesting. The thing is, I'm just interested in old houses, the history of a house. I have this fascination with just mansions in general and the history. I just sometimes think to myself, if the walls could talk or the stories they could tell. This is so interesting to me. This is kind of why I fell into this rabbit hole and had so much fun building this. And I was also looking at so many pictures, trying to really recreate it. So I was looking at different pictures from the back and the front. I had a hard time recreating the back of the house at first, which is why I made so many changes. You will notice that in the video, I'm just making so many changes to the back. But eventually I was really happy. I also, I found some old pictures of the interior. I think these pictures were from a real estate site before Taylor bought the house. Taylor also held secret sessions in this house, and I was looking at videos I could find, and I think she completely remodeled the interior as well. It looks really neutral colored, really luxurious, but it has this typical Cape Cod style, and this is just what I was trying to do for the interior. So I just winged the interior because I could not find any other information. I could not find old floor plans, I could not find any photos, so I just did what I thought would make sense. The house has 8 bedrooms. And the original house was even bigger, but after Rebecca Harkness sold the house to move to New York, I think they made the house smaller. So a big part of the house was kind of demolished and they made the house smaller. So this is why I said earlier in the video that the original size was bigger, like the 11,000 square feet, but it's still big. And I was just trying to go by what I could find, for example, in the round section at the top, this is supposedly the master bedroom, and it has 2 bathrooms, one for a his and her bathroom, like this type of thing. So I also tried to do this, but I just had to build the interior from my imagination, which I also think is a good thing, because I always feel like it's creepy when you really try to 100% recreate a house like this. Nothing against the people who do this, but I always feel like it just kind of feels like an invasion of privacy. This is a historic home, you can see so many pictures from the outside, it's not a secret, so I feel like it's totally fine to just recreate the exterior and everything, not a problem here. But the interior is just my imagination. I also wanted to include a little music area, some type of studio, because obviously Taylor loves to play the piano, sing, and play guitar and stuff, so I included lots of instruments. But yeah, this is just my imagination. Also, when I did my research, I found out that Taylor likes to give tours of the house to friends and family. So whenever someone is visiting for the first time, she is showing people around and she's giving the tour. And she also said that she has an anecdote for each single room. So she did so much research about Rebecca and the history of the house that she has like so many facts about the house, and I just love this so much. As I said, I just love this type of backstory. I love the history of old houses, and I think this is just the coolest thing, and there's just a fascination about the house and the history. And yeah, in case you're a Swiftie, you know about all of this, and I'm pretty sure that I might have gotten something or some detail wrong. If so, just feel free to correct me in the comments, and I don't want to offend anyone. I just really want to pay my respects to Taylor in this house, and I just had the best time building the house, and I really did my best to recreate this. But as I said earlier, I'm usually not someone who's really good at replicas and recreating houses, and I really did my best here, I promise, but I'm pretty sure that it's not 100% perfect. Also, I've mentioned the secret sessions, and this is one of the coolest things ever. So in case you're not a Swiftie and you don't know this, I just personally think that Taylor is genuinely such a good person, and I feel like that she's so grateful to her fans and all that. And when I found out about the secret sessions back then, I just had so much more respect. So she always looked on Tumblr for Swifties who were hardcore Swifties. So they were really dedicated fans, and they love her and her music so much. And yeah, so she started to hold secret sessions. So essentially, some Swifties were contacted and they were told to meet somewhere, and they picked the Swifties up, and then they were brought to her house, and they had no idea. And yeah, they were visiting Taylor at home at her house, and she was showing them a select group of people the brand new album before anyone had heard it, and she was just hanging out with them. She did this for multiple albums. She also owns lots of different properties in London, New York, Los Angeles, this year in Rhode Island, and probably even more, also Nashville, of course. So she held secret sessions at all these different places, and I think this is so special, letting someone into your personal space and trusting them, and giving these fans this gift of just being allowed to hang out with her and hearing her music before anyone else. I feel like this is magical, and it really shows that she puts a lot of trust in her fans and that she really appreciates them. And I think this is so cool. And yeah, I think for the Reputation album, I could be wrong here, secret sessions were held in this house, in the Holiday House, which I think I would be excited for this either way, but being allowed in this house would be interesting. And I hope that she gave them the tour and all the facts. As I've said, she always gives the tour and all the facts about Rebecca and the house, and who knows, maybe these Swifties also got some information about the house, I don't know. But I feel like this is so cool, and this just shows that she's such a cool person, really. And yeah, let me know in the comments down below if you knew about this house, if you are a Swiftie, or maybe you are totally not a Swiftie and this is not your type of music, but maybe you think that the backstory is interesting, and maybe you even look up the house, and I think that it's really, I think it's just interesting. I'm not a Swiftie in the original sense of being a Swiftie and being a hardcore Taylor Swift fan, but I love her music, and I think that she's so cool. So I love Taylor Swift, but I feel like Swiftie is a title for the real hardcore fans. But yeah, I just let me know what you think of this house and the replica and Taylor and just everything. Just leave a comment down below, and as always, you can also leave a comment what you want to see next. I just had so much fun building a normal house again after all these Polly Pockets and Barbie builds. I was just back to building a good old mansion, and what's also so interesting is, to me it was interesting, I would never build a house like this I think it's so beautiful, but the shape, I would have done so many things differently, just in my personal style, but recreating this just made me build something different, trying a new shape, and I just think that it's always fun to try something new, so I had so much fun building this wonderful Cape Cod style mansion. Also, Brindleton Bay is set in Cape Cod, and all the built by items just have the style. This is why I've used so many items from Cats and Dogs. Also, Taylor has 3 cats. This is why I've included so many items for cats, like the scratch post and like all kinds of different things. Anything your cat might need is in this house. So if you let Taylor move in, you also have all the objects for just owning multiple cats, because I really wanted, I wanted to add as many objects as possible, which really make this a Taylor Swift house, because as I said, I really just built the interior myself and was trying to come up with something. I changed the counters of the kitchen at some point because I really wanted this to have this really rustic, beautiful Cape Cod style. I also wanted this to be luxurious, and I did not like these base game counters. And yet this here is like the studio area. I did not want to build like a really real proper dedicated studio in the basement or somewhere, because I felt like I don't know this, but I felt like the Taylor very likely has like equipment and a piano in there, but I felt like that it could be just part of the normal house layout, like not a real proper studio. I could be totally wrong, but here, because it's just a vacation home, I just wanted to include all the objects, but I also wanted to just not build a proper studio, so I just built this in the house on this floor. As you can see, I've used objects from Get Famous to have like some type of studio equipment without building a proper studio. I also looked for all the guitars, all the different swatches, and I just placed them there. I also wanted to have like a shelf where I could place different awards, and Get Famous has lots of awards. Also, it's like super weird. I mean, you just witnessed how I placed all these awards on the shelf. You just saw it. And yeah, when I wanted to take screenshots, when I was done, they were gone, like on one shelf. And I only had like a empty shelf, and I was like, why? And I just replaced them, which is super weird. But yeah, they are from Get Famous, and yeah. Maybe someone stole them. And yeah, I've talked earlier about like security being at the property every single day, always, even when Taylor is not there. And after she acquired the property, someone like climbed over the fence and climbed up the seawall and was trying to get into the property. So there were like different instances where people were really trying to trespass. And like the funny thing is, when she acquired the property, there was like a sign in front of the property saying no trespassing. I knew you were trouble when you walked in, which is like one of her most famous songs, which shows that she has humor. But I think now there's like a regular trespassing sign at this point. But yeah, unfortunately she had to deal with that. But I mean, this is kind of the price celebrities sadly have to pay for like being famous, and I think it's super stressful. And I also understand why it's like so nice to like have a house like this. Like it's sitting on a hill, it has a private beach, and I feel like when you are like in the property, you are like kind of away from everyone. It's like sitting up that hill, you have security around you, and I feel like it's like it probably feels like really being on your own and away from everyone, even though there are people around and people know about the house, if that makes sense. But the house itself, like sitting on that hill, it just has that secluded feel, and I feel like it's probably a really nice property to have. Also, the Kennedys had a property super close to this, and they still own it, like the family. And it's like, as I said, old money, and there are like lots of really nice houses in this area. But this one is like the biggest. Like this house is the biggest, and as I've said, it was even bigger. Like before they demolished a part of the build, it was even bigger. Like really, absolutely amazing. Like such a really I feel like it's intimidating almost. Like I looked up so many pictures, also historic photos, and there was like a historic photo of someone standing in front of one of the chimneys on the outside, and like the size comparison of like a person and the chimney in the background and the house itself is just absolutely astounding. Like the size is like, I think sometimes when you look at pictures of mansions, you don't have an idea how big it really is, like compared to a normal house. Kind of like when you're in a normal house or apartment, like the area, like just the entrance area probably has the size. Absolutely intimidating, and just it's like wow. Like just wow. And I've talked about this before, but I feel like when a house is too big and you're alone in a house at night just chilling, I don't know, I don't think that is like really cozy. Of course, it's nice to have a house like this. Also, when you like use a house just as a vacation home and you have lots of friends and family over, it's probably just amazing to have like 7 extra bedrooms so everyone can just stay at the house. And in this case, it makes sense, but usually these houses are just so gigantic that you probably don't even know what to do without these extra rooms. But yeah, I feel like I've mostly talked about the history in this video, but I quickly want to mention that this house is, of course, fully furnished. This house has 8 bedrooms, just like the original. It's fully furnished. I did not include all the footage of the furnishing process because I was furnishing this for a long time, but you can here see lots of screenshots, so you can see all the rooms, and you can just grab this from the gallery if you want. It's CC-free, unwatered, and fully furnished. My ID is KateEmerald, and you can also grab the tray files from my Patreon. And speaking of which, it's time to thank my wonderful Emerald patrons and my Emerald YouTube members. A big thank you to Mehmet Ali Baris Khan, Paula Anna, Asia, Emma Barnes, Charlotte, Labless, Lisa Martin, Leah Cross, Saturated Spark, Shannon McClam, Stephen, and Helena Lynn. Thank you so much for your huge support. A big thank you to all my other Patreons and YouTube members. And of course, thank you for watching this, for being here and supporting me, for subscribing and liking and commenting, and yeah, for just watching. Yeah, thank you for just being here. I appreciate all of you so much. And I hope if you are a Swiftie that you've enjoyed this. I hope that you, if you're not a Swiftie, that you just genuinely enjoyed the house and the architecture. And I would like to say thank you so much for watching. I hope I see you in the next video, and I wish you a perfect day. Bye bye.